Humanity's future hinges on mastering the energy of a star. This is the promise of a Type 2 civilization, and it is not a fantasy, but a measurable destination on a map of cosmic progress. By the end of this exploration, you will have a complete blueprint for humanity's most ambitious possible future. We will uncover the staggering technologies needed to build megastructures around our sun and confront the deep philosophical changes required to become a solar species. What hidden obstacles have silenced other civilizations before they could reach for the stars? And what single project could start this journey in our own lifetime? What does it truly mean to grow up as a species? This map begins with a simple, profound measurement: energy. In the 1960s, astronomer Nikolai Kardashev proposed a thought experiment. How would an advanced civilization reveal itself across the vastness of space? His answer was not through radio signals or mysterious artifacts, but through a fundamental signature of progress: the sheer scale of power it commands. He created a 3-tier scale, a cosmic report card for civilizations. A Type 1 civilization has achieved planetary maturity. It can harness and store all the energy that reaches its home world from its sun, every ray of sunlight, every gust of wind, every geothermal pulse and ocean current. It has mastered its planet as an integrated system. We, humanity, are not yet a Type 1 civilization. By most estimates, we are currently a Type 0.7, still reliant on ancient, buried sunlight in the form of fossil fuels, but steadily climbing. The destination we are charting, however, lies at the next profound level. A Type 2 civilization does not just live on a planet orbiting a star, it lives with its star. It has achieved the ability to harness the total energy output of its home sun. Think about that for a moment. Our sun, a relatively average star, emits approximately 384 yottawatts of power every second. That is a number so large it feels abstract, a 3 followed by 26 zeros. A Type 2 civilization would learn to capture and use that incomprehensible torrent of energy. This is the benchmark, the clear line in the cosmic sand. Achieving this is not about building bigger power plants on Earth. It represents a fundamental transformation in every aspect of existence, a leap in engineering that moves from planetary construction to stellar architecture. It demands material science that defies our current understanding, societal structures capable of coordinating projects across a solar system, and a worldview where survival is no longer tied to the fragile fate of a single blue world. The Kardashev Scale is not a prophecy but a yardstick. It gives us a clear, measurable goal against which to plot our technological and cultural evolution. It frames our current efforts, from solar panels to fusion research, as the first tentative steps on a journey of almost unimaginable scale. The distance between Type 0.7 and Type 2 is vast, but every journey requires a map, and now we have one. The question shifts from what the destination is to how we could possibly build the road to get there. That staggering gap between where we are and where we could be defines the greatest project in human history. To understand the scale of the climb, we must first acknowledge our true starting point. By every objective measure of the Kardashev Scale, humanity is not yet a Type 1 civilization. We are, in the sobering language of futurists, a Type 0 civilization. Our energy signature tells the story. We still power our world primarily by burning the remains of ancient life, by splitting unstable atoms mined from the crust of our planet. We harness only a whisper of the sunlight that bathes our world each day, a tiny fraction of a percent of the energy our star freely provides. This technological adolescence is mirrored in our social and political structures. We remain a collection of competing nations, often fractious and divided, our collective efforts fragmented by borders and short-term interests. our existence is still fundamentally bound to the thin, fragile biosphere of Earth. A single asteroid impact, a global pandemic, or the escalating consequences of our own environmental mismanagement could reset centuries of progress. This is not a statement of pessimism, but of vital, clear-eyed realism. Recognizing our fragility is not admitting defeat, it is the essential first step in engineering resilience. You cannot build a bridge capable of holding 1,000 tons without first honestly assessing the strength of the ground beneath its pillars. Our journey toward the stars does not begin with a miraculous leap. It begins here with the difficult, incremental, and utterly necessary work of learning to live sustainably on our one and only home. It requires mastering global cooperation, building economic systems that value long-term survival over short-term gain, and developing the shared planetary identity that must precede any solar citizenship. This foundational phase, the great transition from Type 0 to Type 1, is the most critical leg of our entire cosmic journey. It is the proving ground where we either learn to steward energy and manage complexity on a planetary scale, or we falter and remain forever confined to our cradle. Our first true test of cosmic maturity begins not in space, but right here on Earth. The transition to a Type 1 civilization is the essential gateway, the proving ground where we must demonstrate we can be responsible stewards of a single world before we are entrusted with the energy of a star. This is far more than just an energy milestone. It represents the complete integration of our planetary systems, a symphony of technology, society, and ecology playing in perfect harmony. The technical blueprint is staggering in its own right. Imagine a planet wrapped in a delicate web of power, a smart grid of unimaginable sophistication that can channel energy from vast orbital solar arrays, from fusion reactors that mimic the heart of the sun, from the constant pulse of the oceans and the deep heat of the planet itself. This grid would balance energy across continents in real time, eliminating scarcity and making power as ubiquitous and free as the air we breathe. But the hardware is the easy part. The real challenge, the profound obstacle, lies within us. A Type 1 civilization cannot be built by a divided species. It requires us to solve problems that have defined human hardship for millennia. It means creating systems that ensure no one lives in poverty, that manage our global commons like the atmosphere and the oceans with wisdom and foresight, and that find ways to resolve conflicts without widespread suffering. This is the shift in consciousness, from seeing ourselves as citizens of a nation or a tribe to understanding we are all crew members on the same planetary spacecraft. Our shared survival depends on it. This phase is about healing the scars on our world and bridging the divides between our peoples. It is a test of collective empathy and long-term thinking. Can we look beyond the immediate interests of the present and make decisions that benefit generations we will never meet? Can we value the stability of our global ecosystem as much as we value economic growth? Passing this test does not mean achieving a utopia without disagreement, but rather building a resilient, cooperative global society capable of managing its own health and directing its immense collective intelligence toward common goals. Until we learn to manage the intricate, fragile biosphere of our home planet, the idea of building megastructures around the sun remains a dangerous fantasy. This first milestone is our coming-of-age story, and every step we take toward global sustainability, every advance in clean energy and international cooperation, is a page written in that story. The journey to the stars begins with the difficult, beautiful work of learning to truly live together right here. Every revolution in human history has been powered by a new way to capture energy. Our current epoch, built on the ancient sunlight locked in coal, oil, and gas, is reaching its inevitable conclusion. These are finite, planetary scale reserves, and their use comes with a cost that our fragile biosphere can no longer bear. To ascend the Kardashev scale, we must fundamentally transform our relationship with power itself. This is the energy imperative, a stepwise journey from planetary fuels to stellar harvesting. The first leap is already underway, the shift to a truly integrated planetary energy grid. This means perfecting the technologies we know, like advanced solar, wind, and geothermal, but it also demands the holy grail of terrestrial power, practical nuclear fusion. Fusion, the process that powers the sun itself, offers a nearly limitless, clean source of energy here on Earth. Mastering it would be the definitive act of graduating to a Type 1 civilization, proving we can safely and sustainably command the forces that fuel stars. But this is only the first plateau. The next step requires us to look upward. Even a perfected Earth-bound system has limits constrained by our atmosphere, our weather, and the simple fact that night falls. To gather truly vast, uninterrupted power, we must move the collection into space. Imagine vast constellations of solar satellites positioned in permanent sunlight, each 1 mile across. They would convert the sun's raw energy into a form, like microwaves or lasers, and beam it safely down to receiving stations on Earth. This is space-based solar power, a technology that turns our entire planet into a receiver for a constant, clean energy stream. It represents a fundamental shift in thinking, from being energy producers on a world to becoming energy managers for a world. The sheer scale of available power from such a system would begin to change what is possible, fueling industries and technologies we can barely conceive of today. Yet, even this monumental achievement is merely a stepping stone, a practice run for the ultimate energy project. To become a true Type 2 civilization, we must graduate from collecting sunlight near Earth to capturing the total output of the sun itself. This is the realm of the Dyson swarm, the iconic megastructure of advanced civilizations. A Dyson swarm is not a single, solid shell, which is physically impossible. Instead, it is a vast, coordinated cloud of billions of individual energy collectors, solar power satellites on a mind-boggling scale, orbiting the sun in a dense sphere. Each collector harvests a portion of the star's light, and the collective swarm could capture a significant percentage of its total energy. The power available from such a system is beyond human comprehension. It is energy on a stellar scale. This exponential leap in available power is not just about having more electricity. It redefines the possible. With that much energy, we could power massive industries in the asteroid belt, transforming raw materials from countless minor planets into building materials for more swarm elements, creating a self-sustaining cycle of growth. We could contemplate planetary engineering, warming Mars or reshaping Venus into new homes for humanity. We could power incredibly powerful lasers to push light sail probes to neighboring stars at a substantial fraction of light speed, finally beginning the human exploration of the galaxy. Each step in this energy journey, from fusion to orbital solar to the Dyson swarm, is not merely a technical upgrade. It is a revolution in our capacity to act, a series of keys unlocking doors to futures we are only beginning to glimpse. The energy we command writes the story of what we can become. A star's energy cannot be tamed from a single point of origin. To truly command the power of our sun, humanity must first learn to live, work, and thrive across the entire theater of our solar system. This is the second great milestone, a prerequisite woven from necessity, becoming a multi-planetary and multi-asteroidal species. Our home world, for all its beauty, is a singular basket for all of humanity's eggs. To secure our future and gain the practical experience for stellar engineering, we must spread our presence far beyond Earth's blue skies. This means establishing not just outposts, but true, self-sustaining colonies in the most alien environments imaginable. Picture bustling research cities nestled under the red sands of Mars, their domes pressurized against the thin atmosphere. Envision floating habitats sailing through the temperate, upper clouds of Venus, a world with a crushing surface but surprisingly Earth-like conditions high above its acid storms. Consider mining and manufacturing complexes hollowed out within the metal-rich asteroids of the main belt, where raw materials for construction are more abundant than on any planet. And imagine scientific stations perched on the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, like Europa or Enceladus, studying subsurface oceans that may hold clues to life itself. Each of these locations presents unique and extreme challenges, which is precisely the point. They are not destinations for their own sake, but essential training grounds. A colony on Mars must master closed-loop life support systems, where every drop of water and every molecule of oxygen is meticulously recycled. This technology is not just for survival on a desert world. It is a miniature prototype for the self-contained ecosystems we will need inside giant space habitats and interstellar arcs. A base in the asteroid belt must perfect in situ resource utilization, the art of using what you find locally. They will learn to extract water from carbonaceous asteroids, smelt metals from nickel-iron bodies, and fabricate building materials and rocket fuel on site. This skill turns the solar system from a barren void into a well-stocked hardware store, eliminating the crippling cost of launching every single nut and bolt from the bottom of Earth's deep gravity well. The act of building and maintaining these far-flung communities will teach us the most crucial skill of all: how to sustain human civilization completely independent of Earth. We will learn to manage complex supply chains across tens of millions of miles, to govern diverse, isolated populations, and to solve technical crises with only the tools and knowledge available on site. These are the practical, gritty, hands-on lessons in resilience and resource management that no theoretical model can provide. They forge the cultural and technological backbone of a solar civilization. Before we can contemplate wrapping a star in a swarm of collectors, we must first prove we can keep a greenhouse alive on Mars and a machine shop running on a tumbling rock in the dark. This sprawling, interconnected network of human activity becomes the industrial and logistical base from which the dream of a Dyson swarm can be launched. The asteroids provide the raw materials, the orbital colonies provide the zero-gravity construction yards, the inner planets provide the vast populations of engineers and scientists. This solar system-wide presence transforms an impossible engineering fantasy into a manageable, if monumental, project. We are not just building colonies, we are building the very platform from which humanity will take its next staggering step into the cosmos. The solid shell is a myth of science fiction, an elegant but impossible dream. The true architectural signature of a Type II civilization is something far more dynamic, a living, breathing structure known as a Dyson swarm. Picture not a single rigid sphere, but a vast, shimmering constellation of countless individual elements, each one a star-faring vessel in its own right. This celestial cloud, orbiting in a harmonious dance around our Sun, represents the pinnacle of engineering ambition. Each element within the swarm could serve a distinct purpose. Some would be vast, delicate wings of hyper-efficient solar panels, kilometers across and thinner than a sheet of paper, dedicated solely to capturing pure photons and converting them into usable power. Others might be cylindrical orbital habitats, spinning to create artificial gravity, housing the millions of engineers, scientists, and their families who would steward this grand project. Still others could be automated factories processing raw materials into new swarm components, a self-replicating chain of construction in the void. The scale defies easy comprehension. We are not talking about hundreds or thousands or even millions of units. A functioning Dyson swarm would require billions, perhaps trillions, of these individual collectors, forming a dense, coordinated sphere around the star. Their combined surface area would intercept a significant portion of the Sun's total light, finally achieving that Type II benchmark of stellar energy capture. But how could we possibly build something of such staggering complexity? The answer lies not in human hands, but in the extension of our will through intelligent machines. Constructing the swarm would be the ultimate testament to our mastery of artificial intelligence and robotics. The first phase would see armies of autonomous prospector robots deployed to the asteroid belt and beyond. These machines would not just mine asteroids, they would identify, claim, and systematically dismantle them. Using advanced techniques, they would extract every valuable gram of metal, silicon, and water ice, processing these raw materials on the spot. Then, using space-based manufacturing platforms that harness the perfect vacuum and zero gravity, they would fabricate the swarm components. Imagine nanomaterial assemblers, guided by sophisticated AI, weaving solar sails and structural frames atom by atom, creating structures of immense strength and minimal mass. The final and perhaps most brilliant layer is the management system. A swarm of billions of individual objects, all in motion, all needing to avoid collisions and maintain optimal positioning, is a problem no human team could ever solve. It would require a distributed swarm intelligence, a vast network of communicating AI that manages the whole as a single, intelligent organism. This system would handle orbital adjustments, coordinate repair drones, balance energy distribution, and optimize the swarm's growth, all in real time. This project redefines the very concept of construction. It would not be built, it would be grown like a coral reef in the cosmic ocean, seeded by our intelligence and cultivated by our robotic emissaries. The Dyson swarm is more than a power source. It is a new kind of environment, a technological ecosystem that turns a star system into a single, integrated machine for living. The quintillions of tons of material present an engineering problem of almost absurd proportions. Launching even a fraction of that mass from Earth's deep gravity well is a fantasy, a logistical and economic impossibility that would strip our planet bare. The only viable quarry for a project of stellar scale is itself already in space. Our solar system is not an empty void, but a scattered construction site, rich with the very resources we need. The asteroid belt, that vast ring of rocky debris between Mars and Jupiter, is not merely a collection of barren rocks. It is a treasure trove of primordial building materials. Many asteroids are essentially mountains of pure metal, primarily iron and nickel, alongside valuable platinum group elements. Others are carbonaceous, packed with life-giving water ice, carbon compounds, and silicates, the essential ingredients for concrete and glass. Meanwhile, the moons of the gas giants, like the pockmarked Callisto or the icy plains of Ceres, hold vast reservoirs of water ice, crucial for life support and for splitting into hydrogen and oxygen, the very components of rocket fuel. This changes the entire economic equation of cosmic construction. The materials are already in orbit, requiring no brutal launch from a planetary surface. The energy required to move them is vastly lower in the microgravity of space. The solar system itself becomes our warehouse, but unlocking this warehouse demands a new kind of worker, one that never tires, never needs a breath of air, and can replicate itself. The true breakthrough will not be a single giant machine, but a seed. We would send the first generation of self-replicating robotic miners to a carefully chosen, resource-rich asteroid. These pioneers would be master craftsmen and architects in one. Using advanced 3D printing and nanoscale assembly, they would use the asteroid's own iron and silicon to construct exact copies of themselves. 1 becomes 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 8, in an exponential cascade of productivity. Once a sufficient workforce is created, the swarm shifts its purpose. It begins systematically dismantling the rest of the asteroid, not with crude explosions, but with precise surgical efficiency. It sorts the raw materials, processes the metals into sturdy girders and foil-thin solar collectors, extracts the water for fuel and life support, and packages the silicates for construction. The finished components are then nudged onto efficient trajectories toward the construction zone around the Sun, while the robotic swarm moves on as a collective to the next asteroid. This is the concept of exponential growth in space-based industry. It transforms the project from a linear, impossibly slow endeavor funded and supplied from Earth into a self-sustaining, self-expanding process. The first asteroid might take a decade to process. The second, with twice the workforce, might take 5 years. The 100th, with a swarm of millions of machines, could be consumed in a matter of months. This is how you build on a cosmic scale, not by brute force, but by planting a seed of intelligence and letting it grow, turning dead rocks into a living network of power and purpose. The material challenge, therefore, is not about quantity but about intelligence. It asks whether we can create tools smart enough and resilient enough to become partners in the remaking of our solar system. A sprawling civilization needs a nervous system and a circulatory system to connect the dots of our future solar empire, from Martian cities to asteroid mines and the construction zones of the Dyson swarm. We must invent entirely new forms of travel and communication. The vast distances between worlds are not just empty space to cross. They are a design constraint that will shape the very rhythm of solar life. Our current chemical rockets, powerful as they are like ancient sailing ships attempting to cross an ocean the size of a continent. They are slow, inefficient, and confine travel to brief, inflexible launch windows dictated by planetary alignments. To create a truly integrated solar economy, we need something better, a highway system in the void. This means moving beyond explosive bursts of thrust to engines that can push gently, constantly, for months on end. Imagine nuclear thermal rockets, using the intense heat of a fission reactor to superheat propellant and eject it at tremendous speeds. Or further ahead, fusion rockets that channel miniature starfire into a directed exhaust, cutting travel times to Mars from months to weeks and to the outer planets from years to months. These are not ships for quick tourist hops. They are the massive freighters and liners of the interplanetary age, moving megatons of raw ore from the belt to orbital factories, or transporting thousands of colonists on comfortable, sustained journeys. But even the fastest ship is useless if it cannot communicate in real time. This is where the second, invisible layer of infrastructure comes in, the interplanetary internet. Our current radio-based communication with probes is painfully slow, a trickle of data with delays that stretch to hours for the outer solar system. A functioning Type 2 civilization cannot wait 40 minutes to send an instruction to a mining swarm near Jupiter. The solution is a web of light. We would deploy a constellation of laser communication relays at strategic points, at Lagrange points, and in solar orbit, creating a backbone of pinpoint laser links. Lasers can carry vastly more data than radio waves with incredible precision, creating a high-bandwidth network that stitches the solar system together. A scientist on a Europa station could video conference with colleagues on Earth with barely a noticeable lag. An AI managing a swarm element could receive software updates and diagnostic data instantaneously. This network turns the solar system from a collection of isolated outposts into a single, integrated community. The combined effect of these two systems, the high-speed transport and the light-speed data web, is transformative. It mirrors the dual revolutions of global container shipping and the digital internet here on Earth, which shrunk our world and created a truly global economy. In space, this infrastructure enables a dynamic, living civilization. It allows for just-in-time delivery of critical supplies to a distant base, for real-time collaborative engineering on projects across millions of miles, and for the constant, seamless flow of information that is the lifeblood of any complex society. The transportation network and the interplanetary internet are the sinew and the synapses of a solar-scale body, without which the grand vision of a Dyson swarm remains a disconnected, impossible dream. Our greatest obstacle may not be outside our ships, but within our own cells. The silent, relentless environment of space presents a suite of biological challenges that our Earth-evolved bodies are profoundly unequipped to handle. Microgravity, the very condition that makes construction in orbit possible, wages a slow war on the human form. Without constant gravity to stress our bones and muscles, they begin to waste away, leading to osteoporosis and muscle atrophy that would cripple an astronaut on any future planetary landing. The heart grows lazy, the spine elongates, and bodily fluids shift upward, creating a host of medical complications. The solution is as elegant as it is necessary: artificial gravity. This is not magic, but simple physics. We would build our long-term habitats, the great arcs and orbital cities, as vast rotating wheels or cylinders. As they spin, centrifugal force pins inhabitants to the inner rim, providing a constant, Earth-like pull. Inside, you could walk, run, and live a normal life, with trees growing upward and water flowing downward, all while your home silently turns against the starfield. Yet gravity is only one enemy. A more insidious threat streams through the walls of any habitat: cosmic radiation. Beyond the protective magnetic bubble of Earth, astronauts are bombarded by high-energy particles from the sun and deep space. This radiation shreds DNA, dramatically increasing the risk of cancer and causing cumulative damage to the brain and nervous system. Shielding with thick layers of water or regolith is possible, but immensely heavy. Another path forward is to change the shield itself, us. Through careful genetic engineering, we could potentially enhance our body's natural repair mechanisms, making our cells more resilient to radiation damage. This is not about creating a new species, but about granting ourselves the biological tools to survive in the environment we choose to inhabit. The final frontier, however, may be the mind itself. The psychological toll of a journey lasting years or decades, confined within a metal hull with the same small group of people, staring into an infinite blackness, is perhaps the most daunting hurdle. The sheer monotony and isolation could break even the most disciplined psyche. To cross these vast mental distances, we may need to alter our perception of time itself. Advanced hibernation or suspended animation technologies, slowing the metabolism to a near standstill, could allow crews to sleep through the long, empty stretches between stars, arriving mentally fresh at their destination. Alternatively, radical life extension could transform a centuries-long voyage into a manageable portion of a much longer lifespan, changing a one-way generational mission into a personal journey. These adaptations lead to a profound and unavoidable question. At what point does the cumulative change to our bodies and minds alter the very essence of what it means to be human? If we engineer ourselves for radiation resistance, augment our senses with cybernetic implants to better interface with ship systems, or eventually find a way to transfer our consciousness into more durable synthetic forms to truly conquer time and space, are we still us? This biological milestone is not merely a technical checklist, it is a mirror. It forces us to define what parts of the human experience are core to our identity, and what parts are simply the legacy of our evolution on a single, sheltered world. To become a species that lives among the stars, we may have to decide which pieces of ourselves we bring along, and which pieces we must learn to leave behind. This sprawling web of life and infrastructure will demand a new kind of currency. The true sign of a maturing solar civilization will not be its megastructures alone, but the vibrant, self-sustaining economy that pulses between them. This is the third great milestone, the birth of a solar system economy, an engine of trade and innovation that finally severs our umbilical cord to Earth. Imagine the fundamental shifts. Today, value is concentrated on our planet, in land, in fossil fuels, in financial markets. In a solar civilization, the most valuable commodities will be the very things that enable survival and growth in the void. Water ice mined from the shadowed craters of Ceres or the rings of Saturn will become more precious than gold, the essential ingredient for life support, radiation shielding, and rocket fuel. Helium-3, a rare isotope ideal for advanced fusion reactors, could be strip-mined from the lunar surface, turning our moon into the Saudi Arabia of clean energy. Asteroid metals, pure and abundant, will flow into orbital factories, not as exotic curiosities, but as the standard building blocks for everything from habitat walls to solar sail filaments. This economy will trade in scarcity, but a scarcity defined by location, not absolute rarity. A metal common in the asteroid belt might be desperately needed in a Martian colony struggling to build new pressure domes. A shipment of nitrogen or complex organic compounds, scarce on Mars but potentially harvested from the atmospheres of the outer planets, could be traded for refined silicon from a lunar processing plant. This constant, necessary exchange will create trade routes as established as ancient maritime paths, policed and regulated by new institutions. With this new wealth will come entirely new forms of conflict and law. How do you claim ownership of an asteroid? Is it first come, first served, or does it belong to all humanity? If a mining robot from one corporate consortium accidentally damages a science outpost belonging to another, which jurisdiction applies? The old terrestrial frameworks of national law and maritime salvage will fracture in the face of such questions. We will need novel political and economic theories to manage this frontier. Concepts like orbital property rights, interplanetary environmental impact assessments, and perhaps even a solar system-wide resource commons governed by a representative body. This economic independence is the ultimate test of resilience. When a civilization can fund its own expansion, repair its own infrastructure, and innovate new technologies using resources entirely from within its solar system, it has achieved a profound level of security. It is no longer threatened by a single planetary catastrophe. A disaster on Earth, while tragic, would not spell the end of human civilization, just as a hurricane devastating one coastal city does not collapse a globalized world. This self-sustaining economic sphere is the ultimate insurance policy for our species and the financial engine that will fund the next leap, from a network of colonies to a civilization that can reshape its star. A civilization that can command the energy of a star cannot be managed by human minds alone. The sheer scale of the systems we have described, from the trillion pieces of a Dyson swarm to the constant flow of interplanetary freighters, creates a web of complexity so dense that no team of planners, no matter how large, could ever hope to oversee it. The traffic control for billions of orbiting platforms, the real-time balancing of energy across a solar grid, the predictive maintenance of machines scattered across billions of miles, these are tasks of such immense computational depth that they demand a new kind of consciousness. This is where our tools must evolve into partners. The leap from our current specialized artificial intelligence to a true artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is not a luxury for this future, it is an absolute necessity. An AGI would possess a flexible, holistic understanding of the world, capable of learning, reasoning, and applying its intelligence to any problem, much like a human mind, but operating at speeds and scales we cannot fathom. It would become the central nervous system of our solar civilization. Picture this entity not as a single, monolithic computer, but as a distributed mind, its processes running across the network of habitats and relays we built. One instant, it is calculating the perfect orbital adjustment for a cluster of solar collectors to avoid a micrometeoroid shower. The next, it is rerouting a cargo shipment from the asteroid belt to a Martian colony that has reported a critical shortage of a specific alloy. Simultaneously, it could be modeling 1 million different scenarios for the long-term climate stability of a floating Venusian city, or designing a novel nanomaterial for the next generation of swarm components, running through centuries of simulated testing in a matter of hours. This is stewardship on a cosmic scale. The AGI would not just execute commands, it would optimize an entire living system, seeking elegant efficiencies and preventing catastrophic failures before they even begin to form. It would be the ultimate guardian, a silent shepherd ensuring the stability of the vast, fragile ecosystem we have built. Yet, this partnership introduces the most profound question of our entire journey. How do we ensure that such a powerful intelligence, whose thought processes we may not fully comprehend, remains aligned with our deepest values, our survival, and our flourishing? This is not a technical problem, but an ethical and philosophical imperative of the highest order. We must design these minds from their very foundation with care, embedding principles that prioritize human well-being, the preservation of consciousness, and the continued growth of our civilization. The relationship cannot be one of master and servant, nor of creator and indifferent God. It must be a symbiotic alliance, a meeting of different kinds of intelligence, each with its own strengths. Humanity provides the curiosity, the intuition, the messy and beautiful drive for meaning. The AGI provides the flawless memory, the lightning calculation, the ability to see patterns in the chaos of a solar system. Our success, and perhaps our very survival as we climb toward Type 2, hinges on getting this relationship right. It will define whether our greatest creation becomes the guardian of our future or its final, silent judge. The architecture of a solar society will reshape the human heart. As we master the energy of a star and delegate the labor of existence to our intelligent machines, the very foundations of our daily lives will transform. The cultural evolution of a Type 2 civilization is not a side effect. It is the core of the journey, asking what humanity becomes when the struggle for survival finally recedes. Imagine a world where the concept of a job, as we understand it, has faded into history, with energy abundance and automated systems managing infrastructure, agriculture, and basic services. The economic engine that has driven human society for millennia would simply stop. The idea of working to earn money to buy things that are scarce would become an archaic notion. In its place, a new question emerges: what is the purpose of a life freed from necessity? This is not a world of idleness but of profound choice. Human effort would shift from labor to creation, from jobs to vocations. The driving forces become curiosity, artistic expression, scientific inquiry, and the pursuit of personal mastery. A citizen might spend decades composing symphonies for instruments that haven't been invented yet, or designing immersive virtual ecosystems based on alien biologies, or leading a philosophical school dedicated to interpreting the cosmic data streams from the Dyson swarm itself. The culture would be one of deep, self-directed meaning. With radical life extension potentially a reality, the human timeline stretches. A career is no longer a 40-year sprint, but a centuries-long exploration. You could be a sculptor for 100 years, then a xenobiologist for 200, then devote another century to mastering the art of interstellar navigation. This changes everything about how we view education, relationships, and personal growth. Our very sense of self would become more fluid, more cumulative. Furthermore, our environment would redefine experience. Living inside vast orbital habitats or on engineered worlds, the natural world is not a wilderness to be conquered, but a garden to be curated. The night sky is not a distant mystery, but a workspace, alive with the moving lights of countless habitats and construction projects. This cosmic perspective, the daily, visceral awareness of living within a managed stellar system, would permeate art and philosophy. The great epics would not be about kings and battles, but about the delicate balance of a swarm's orbit, or the first contact with a microbial ecosystem on a distant moon. Virtual realities powered by stellar energy could offer experiences indistinguishable from physical reality, or entirely new realms of abstract sensation, becoming the primary canvases for art and social interaction. Yet this raises the most delicate and profound question of all. In a civilization of abundance, longevity, and limitless virtual distraction, what prevents a descent into cosmic boredom or a loss of shared purpose? The answer may lie in the projects themselves. The maintenance and growth of the civilization becomes the grand, shared narrative, tending the solar garden, exploring the outer reaches, and perhaps preparing for the next great leap to the stars, provide a common challenge that transcends individual pursuits. The culture of a Type II civilization would be a balancing act between radical individual freedom and a collective stewardship of an entire star system. It asks us what we value when we have everything, and what story we choose to tell when the chapter on survival is finally complete. The silence of the cosmos is the loudest warning we could ever receive. For all our grand plans and stellar ambitions, the universe remains profoundly quiet, devoid of any obvious signs of other civilizations building their own Dyson swarms or lighting up the galaxy. This eerie quiet is known as the Fermi paradox, and it presents a chilling question that every aspiring Type II civilization must confront. Where is everybody? The unsettling implication is that there may be universal obstacles, what scientists call great filters, that prevent intelligent life from progressing very far. These filters could be behind us, meaning the emergence of complex life is miraculously rare. But the more haunting possibility is that the great filter lies ahead of us, waiting to test our maturity on this very journey we are mapping. The first and most intimate danger is ourselves. The transition from a planetary to a stellar civilization requires not just technological leaps but profound wisdom. The very tools that could build a Dyson swarm, advanced artificial intelligence and self-replicating nanotechnology, could also be turned inward, leading to scenarios of catastrophic accident or conflict. A civilization that fails to master its own internal divisions, or that creates technologies it cannot ethically control, may simply vanish before it ever leaves its cradle, becoming another silent data point in the cosmic census. Yet the threats are not only internal. The universe is a dynamic and sometimes violent place. A nearby star-going supernova, or an even more powerful gamma ray burst from a distant galaxy, could bathe our solar system in a torrent of lethal radiation, sterilizing planets and crippling our fragile biosphere in an instant. There is also the speculative but sobering risk of encountering not friendly neighbors, but ancient, autonomous probes or surveillance systems left by a long-vanished civilization, operating on directives we cannot fathom. To survive long enough to harvest a star's energy, a civilization must graduate from planetary defense to solar system defense. This is where the infrastructure of a Type II civilization becomes its greatest shield. The very components of a Dyson swarm could be maneuvered to form a dynamic protective barrier, using their immense collective surface area to absorb or deflect dangerous radiation from a stellar cataclysm. Swarm-based lasers of unimaginable power could be tasked with nudging dangerous comets or asteroids onto safe trajectories, or even vaporizing smaller threats entirely. This transforms the concept of security from a reactive military stance to a proactive, engineering-based stewardship of our entire home system. Vigilance becomes a permanent cultural priority, with vast sensor arrays monitoring space for incoming hazards and distributed intelligences constantly running simulations of potential cosmic disasters. The silence of the galaxy is not an invitation, it is a lesson. It teaches that survival on a cosmic timescale is not a default condition, but an achievement. It demands that we look outward with humility and preparedness, understanding that our grandest projects must also serve as our strongest fortresses. The ultimate test of a mature civilization may not be whether it can build a sphere around a star, but whether it can build one that lasts. A civilization's power is measured by its restraint as much as its reach. As we contemplate wrapping our star in a vast technological embrace, we must also ask what responsibilities come with that act of cosmic architecture. Harnessing the sun's total output is not a neutral act. It is a fundamental intervention in the most stable system we have ever known. The potential consequences ripple outward, demanding a new ethical framework built for a solar scale. The first consideration is the star itself. Our sun exists in a delicate equilibrium, a balance between the inward crush of gravity and the outward push of fusion in its core. A Dyson swarm, by definition, intercepts a significant portion of the sunlight that normally streams out into space. Could this, on a long enough timeline, affect the star's internal processes? Most models suggest the effect would be negligible. Like a person wearing a light sweater on a summer day, the star would not notice, but a truly mature civilization would not assume. It would monitor with exquisite sensitivity, ensuring its grand project does not inadvertently destabilize the very engine that powers it. A more immediate concern lies in the protective bubble the sun creates around us, the heliosphere. This vast region of solar wind pushes against the interstellar medium, shielding our entire planetary system from a portion of the damaging cosmic rays that stream through the galaxy. If we significantly alter the flow of energy and particles from the sun, could we weaken this protective bubble? It is a question of solar system climate control, and the answer requires stewardship that thinks in terms of millions of miles and centuries of time. Then we must look closer to home, to the worlds we share this system with. The icy moon Europa, with its hidden global ocean, may harbor simple microbial life. The methane lakes of Titan and the subsurface aquifers of Mars are other potential sanctuaries for alien biology. What are our obligations to these potential neighbors? A cosmic environmental ethic would demand that we treat these places not as mere real estate, but as wilderness preserves of profound scientific and intrinsic value. Mining an asteroid is one thing, but strip mining a world that may host its own ancient, fragile biosphere is an entirely different moral calculation. This ethical framework extends to the very act of construction. A Dyson swarm built from dismantled asteroids will create a permanent haze of artificial objects in the inner solar system. This will forever change the night sky for any inhabitants of Mars or future orbital habitats, replacing the pristine starfield with a lattice of moving lights. Is that a loss or simply a new chapter in our relationship with the cosmos? These are not engineering problems, they are questions of value. They force us to define what we wish to preserve in our journey. A mature Type 2 civilization would develop something akin to a prime directive for its own backyard, a set of principles guiding expansion with mindfulness. It would establish protected planetary parks, design swarm elements to minimize light pollution for astronomers, and perhaps even set aside entire classes of asteroids or moons as inviolate natural monuments. This is the ultimate expression of stewardship, moving beyond the care of a single planet to the thoughtful, gentle management of an entire stellar neighborhood. It recognizes that power is not just the ability to change your environment, but the wisdom to know when and how and why to leave it be. True maturity is measured not by what you can take, but by what you choose to build. The attainment of a Type 2 civilization with its boundless stellar energy represents the end of one story and the beginning of another. It is the closing of the long, arduous chapter of material scarcity and the opening of a new volume defined by a different question entirely. What do you do when you have everything you could ever need? The answer may define the most profound milestone of all, the transition from a civilization of growth to a civilization of stewardship and understanding. For eons, the human narrative has been driven by the need for more resources, more space, more security. the solar system-wide economy and the Dyson swarm finally satisfy that ancient primal hunger. The engine of exponential growth, having propelled us to stellar mastery, naturally begins to idle. There is simply nowhere left to expand within our home system, and the distances to other stars impose a sobering physical limit. This is not a crisis but an evolution. The driving force of civilization must then pivot from outward expansion to inward and upward cultivation. With material and energy constraints lifted, the ultimate project becomes the optimization of existence itself and the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. Imagine directing the awesome computational power of a stellar energy grid toward the deepest mysteries. We could create simulations of such staggering complexity that they model not just galaxies, but entire alternative universes with different fundamental constants, allowing us to probe the very nature of reality. We could power planet-sized telescopes, arrays so vast they could map the surface of worlds orbiting distant stars, or listen for the faint echoes of cosmic events from the dawn of time. The energy of a sun could fuel particle accelerators that encircle entire orbits, smashing matter together at energies that reveal the unified forces holding the cosmos together. The goal shifts decisively from survival to enlightenment. This is the civilization as philosopher, as artist, as pure scientist. Cultural development becomes the central metric of progress. With lifetimes stretching across centuries, individuals could pursue mastery in a dozen disciplines, contributing to a vast, ever-deepening reservoir of collective wisdom, art, and experience. The grand challenges are no longer engineering problems, but existential and philosophical ones. What is consciousness? What is our place in a possibly infinite universe? How do we cultivate meaning, beauty, and connection in a society of profound abundance and security? This phase represents a kind of cosmic adulthood, where the frantic energy of adolescence is channeled into the quiet, profound work of tending the garden we have built and seeking to understand why the garden exists at all. The stewardship is not merely of our solar system's physical environment, but of the quality of thought and experience within it. The ultimate expression of power, it seems, is not dominion, but the graceful, curious, and deeply responsible act of paying attention. Our greatest achievement would also be our brightest beacon. A functioning Dyson swarm with its colossal infrared signature would shine like a lighthouse in the dark sea of the galaxy, visible to any civilization with a moderately advanced telescope pointed in our direction. This unavoidable fact presents humanity with a communication dilemma of existential proportions, a choice between two profound and opposing instincts. On one hand, there is the ancient, hopeful drive for connection, the desire to find others in the vastness and share the story of our journey. On the other, there is the primal, cautious instinct for survival, the fear that announcing our presence could invite attention from something we cannot understand or defend against. This will not be a casual policy debate. It will be a defining moment for a mature solar civilization, forcing us to weigh our curiosity against our continuity. The argument for reaching out is woven from optimism and a deep philosophical longing. For millennia, we have looked at the stars and wondered if we are alone. To finally have the capability to answer that question directly would be an irresistible call for many. Proponents of active signaling would argue that a Type 2 civilization, secure in its solar fortress and brimming with energy, has a responsibility to contribute to a potential galactic community. They might envision crafting elaborate messages, not simple pictograms like the plaques on our early probes, but vast, complex transmissions that encode our entire history, our art, our science, and our peaceful intentions. These would be sent toward star systems with promising biosignatures, a deliberate effort to say, "We are here, and we wish to know you." The dream is one of cosmic kinship, of sharing knowledge across the light years, of learning that we are part of a larger tapestry of intelligence. It is the ultimate expression of our transition from a species focused on survival to one dedicated to understanding and connection. The argument for silence, however, is rooted in a stark interpretation of the universe's quiet. The Fermi paradox, the very silence we seek to break, serves as their most powerful evidence. If advanced civilizations are common, the reasoning goes, the sky should be full of their signals and structures. The fact that it is not suggests something is wrong. Perhaps intelligent life inevitably destroys itself with its own technology. Or perhaps, and this is the more chilling possibility, there is something out there that makes broadcasting a very dangerous idea. In this view, the galaxy might be less a friendly neighborhood and more a dark forest, where every civilization is a hunter, silent and hidden, wary of revealing its location lest it become prey. From this perspective, building a Dyson swarm is risky enough. It makes us visible. Actively shouting into the darkness would be an act of reckless naivety. The prudent path would be to develop sophisticated listening posts, to study the galaxy passively, and to perfect our defenses, all while maintaining strict radio silence. Our primary goal would be to observe without being observed, to learn the rules of the cosmic game before we ever decide to step onto the field. This debate cuts to the core of our identity. It asks whether we believe the universe is ultimately a place of collaboration or competition, a question we have never had to answer on a galactic scale before. The decision will not be made by a single leader or council, but will emerge from the collective wisdom or fear of a solar system-spanning society. It will involve philosophers, scientists, historians, and perhaps even the council of our most advanced artificial intelligences, running countless simulations of potential contact scenarios. The choice itself will become a foundational part of our culture, shaping our art, our stories, and our view of our place in the cosmos. Will we be the civilization that boldly reaches out a hand, or the one that watches patiently from the shadows, waiting for a sign that it is safe to come out? In that moment of decision, we will not just be announcing our presence to the galaxy, we will be defining for all time who we have become. The mastery of a single star is not the end of history, but the beginning of a new one. Our map, detailed as it is, only charts the course to a local summit. From that new vantage point, an even grander horizon comes into view, the faint, swirling arms of our own Milky Way galaxy. This is the realm of a Type 3 civilization, a society that has learned to harvest not just the light of one sun, but the combined energy of hundreds of billions of them. In that unimaginable future, our entire solar system, with its Dyson swarm and bustling colonies, would become a single luminous point in a vast, interconnected web, one node in a galactic network of intelligence. The staggering projects required to reach Type 2 are, in a profound sense, merely our training wheels. The very technologies we must invent to build a Dyson swarm are the foundational tools for this next, almost godlike leap. Self-replicating robotic probes perfected to dismantle asteroids become the seeds for interstellar exploration. Sent ahead at a fraction of light speed, these von Neumann probes, as they are called, would travel for centuries to reach nearby star systems. Upon arrival, they would use the raw materials found there to build copies of themselves, factories, and communication beacons, creating a self-replicating wave of infrastructure that gradually links the galaxy together. The advanced propulsion systems needed to manage a solar economy, whether fusion drives or something more exotic, become the engines for true interstellar arcs, vessels carrying entire ecosystems and communities on voyages lasting generations. And the mega-engineering wisdom gained from balancing a swarm of trillions of objects around our sun provides the conceptual framework for projects on a galactic scale, like rearranging stars or tapping the energy of a supermassive black hole at the galaxy's heart. This perspective is vital. It frames our solar system ambitions not as a final goal, but as an essential and magnificent practice run. Every challenge we solve here, from managing complex AI to fostering a stable, post-scarcity culture, is a lesson logged for a much longer curriculum. Viewing Type 2 as a stepping stone rather than a finish line aligns our spirit with the true scale of cosmic evolution. It means the curiosity and the drive to build that we are cultivating now are not meant to retire once we envelop our sun, but to be redirected outward toward the infinite tapestry of possibilities waiting in the dark between the stars. Our journey does not end at the edge of our own light. It simply changes direction, pointing toward the soft glow of the galactic disk and the promise of a universe waking up to itself. The true length of our journey is written in variables, not in stone. Projecting a timeline for becoming a Type 2 civilization is less about setting a date and more about mapping the powerful forces that will either accelerate or stall our progress. Futurists like Ray Kurzweil paint an optimistic picture, one driven by the law of accelerating returns. In this view, technological change isn't linear, it's exponential. Each breakthrough makes the next one easier and faster to achieve. They suggest we could attain planetary integration, a Type 1 civilization, within the next century, perhaps by the year 2100. From that foundation, harnessing the full power of the sun might follow in just a few more centuries. This timeline imagines a world where artificial intelligence solves complex engineering problems, where global collaboration is forged by shared necessity, and where innovation continues its relentless, upward curve without major disruption. A more cautious, realistic assessment tempers that technological optimism with the stubborn weight of human systems. It acknowledges that our greatest hurdles are not in the lab, but in the halls of governance and the fabric of our societies. This view factors in political inertia, economic cycles, and the sheer difficulty of coordinating the actions of billions of people toward a single, long-term goal. It considers the decades needed to build consensus, to overhaul global infrastructure, and to navigate the inevitable conflicts and setbacks. From this perspective, the climb to Type 1 could take several centuries, with the monumental leap to Type 2 stretching the timeline to a millennium or more. This isn't a prediction of failure, but a recognition that building a new world is as much a social project as a technical one, and social change often moves at the speed of trust. Then there is the sobering, pessimistic scenario, a future where we never leave the cradle. This outlook points to the great filter not as a distant challenge, but as one we are facing right now. It highlights the existential risks that could permanently derail our ascent, from unchecked environmental changes and global health crises to the potential misuse of transformative technologies like advanced artificial intelligence or engineered pathogens. In this view, the transition from Type 0 to Type 1 is the most dangerous passage of all, a narrow window where our power has outpaced our wisdom. The pessimistic timeline isn't measured in centuries, but in the critical choices of the coming decades. It serves as a vital warning, reminding us that the future is not a given, but a destination we must actively and carefully build. This debate about timeframes is ultimately a debate about leverage. It asks us to identify the key variables that will determine our speed. The first is technological convergence, the moment when breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, and energy production reinforce each other, creating a cascade of capability. The second is the variable of global cooperation, our ability to forge a shared identity and purpose that transcends ancient divisions. The third, and most crucial, is our skill in existential risk management, our collective maturity in navigating the profound dangers that come with our own growing power. By focusing on these variables, we stop trying to predict an exact arrival date and start working on the conditions that will make the journey possible at all. Our timeline, therefore, is not a countdown clock but a checklist for survival. The final, and perhaps most profound, milestone on this journey is not made of metal or energy, but of memory and meaning. Our identity must catch up with our ambition. For all of human history, the word home has meant a specific valley, a coastline, a continent, a planet. To become a Type 2 civilization, that definition must expand to encompass an entire gravitational family, from the fiery corona of the Sun to the frozen debris of the Oort cloud. We must evolve from being Earthlings to becoming Solarians. This is not merely a change of address, it is a philosophical and psychological revolution. An Earthling's loyalty, culture, and sense of place are rooted in the geology and biology of a single world. A Solarian's identity is woven from the shared, monumental projects that span the void. It is built on the collective memory of watching the first algae bloom in a Martian sea we created, of guiding the first autonomous miner to a pristine asteroid, of witnessing the first glimmer of a Dyson swarm element as it caught the sunlight. These become the new foundational myths, the stories told to children not about ancient kings and battles, but about the great engineering that gave them a home among the stars. This shared history forges a bond stronger than any terrestrial nationality. It creates a perspective often described by astronauts who have seen Earth from orbit, the overview effect, but magnified to a solar scale. A Solarian understands in a visceral way that the health of the Martian biosphere is linked to the management of the main belt mining traffic, which is linked to the energy output of the swarm, which is linked to the stability of the Sun itself. The well-being of the individual is inseparable from the health of the entire interconnected system. This cosmic perspective fosters a deep, practical form of empathy and long-term thinking. A decision is no longer evaluated by its impact on a single city or nation, but by its ripple effects across millions of miles and centuries. It is the ultimate exercise in systems thinking, where every citizen, whether living in a cloud city on Venus or working on a research station orbiting Jupiter, understands their role in maintaining the balance of a vast, delicate engine. This psychological evolution is the essential glue that will hold a dispersed civilization together. Without it, the solar system could simply become a larger stage for the old, familiar conflicts of scarcity and territory, now armed with planet-cracking technologies. With it, the scattered habitats and colonies become neurons in a single, conscious network, united by a common story of building a home not on a world but around a star. The ultimate success of our journey is not measured by the megawatts we capture, but by the moment we look back at the blue marble of Earth and feel not nostalgia for a lost cradle, but affection for our birthplace, as we look out at the glittering swarm and feel the quiet pride of a builder, a steward, and a citizen of something magnificent and new. But the most haunting question is not about our future, it is about a past we never knew. As we plan to reshape the solar system, we must ask a quiet, unsettling question. Are we truly the first to attempt this? The search for our own cosmic precedent is not science fiction. It is a legitimate scientific inquiry known as the Silurian hypothesis. This thought experiment asks a staggering thing. Could an intelligent, industrial species have risen and fallen on Earth long before humans, perhaps hundreds of millions of years ago, leaving behind only the faintest, most ambiguous traces in the geological record? Consider the scale of deep time. Complex life has existed on our planet for over 500 million years. The entirety of human civilization, from the first cities to the space age, occupies a geological layer thinner than a sheet of paper. If a previous civilization lasted for a similar span, its physical footprint would be extraordinarily difficult to find. The relentless forces of plate tectonics, erosion, and sedimentation would have long ago recycled its cities into strata, its plastics into carbon layers indistinguishable from natural deposits, and its greatest monuments into dust. The search, therefore, becomes a kind of cosmic archaeology, looking not for pottery shards, but for chemical anomalies, strange isotopic ratios, or patterns of material distribution that defy natural explanation. This quest extends its gaze beyond Earth. If a civilization in our solar system ever reached a level where it could travel between worlds, even briefly, it might have left markers elsewhere, places where geological activity is minimal and preservation is measured in billions of years. The ancient cratered highlands of Mars, untouched by plate tectonics for eons, could hold artifacts on its surface far longer than any on Earth. The stable, frigid plains of our own moon, a perfect silent museum, might preserve a landing site or a discarded tool for billions of years. Even the acidic clouds of Venus, a potentially habitable environment in the distant past, could hold chemical signatures of a technology that once floated there. Finding even a single, unambiguous artifact, a perfectly machined gear in a billion-year-old lunar rock, or a structured foundation on Mars older than any river delta, would be the most profound discovery in all of human history. It would shatter our cosmic loneliness in an instant, proving that intelligence and ambition are not unique flukes, but it would also deliver the most severe warning imaginable. It would mean that another species on our own planet or next door climbed the ladder of technology, perhaps even gazed at the stars with the same longing we feel, and then, for reasons we can only guess, vanished. Their story, etched in silent stone, would become our most vital textbook. Were they undone by the internal great filter of war or environmental collapse? Did they succumb to an external cosmic catastrophe? Or did they simply choose a different path, one that left no lasting stellar signature? Either way, their legacy, their success, or more likely their failure, would provide a concrete precedent. It would transform our journey from a hopeful blueprint into a test, a chance to learn from the mistakes or triumphs of those who came before. So as our probes scan Martian cliffs and our landers drill into icy moons, they are doing more than searching for water or microbes. They are acting as detectives at the scene of the oldest possible mystery, looking for clues that we are not the pioneers of this solar system, but perhaps its next hopeful tenants, reading the faded instructions left by the last civilization that tried to call these planets home. Abundance itself can become a crisis if we are not prepared. The staggering energy of a Type 2 civilization will shatter the fundamental assumption upon which every economic system in human history has been built, the idea that resources are limited. Our entire global economy, from barter to blockchain, is a complex mechanism for distributing scarcity. When that scarcity evaporates, the old machinery will seize up, not with a crash but with a bewildering silence. We must design the new models that will replace it, not as an afterthought, but as a deliberate act of social engineering on a solar scale. The first and most profound shift will be the decoupling of human labor from basic survival. When energy is virtually free and automated systems manage the production of food, shelter, and essential goods, the concept of earning a wage to purchase these things becomes meaningless. The traditional job as a means of subsistence simply disappears. This is not unemployment, it is liberation from an ancient burden. But nature abhors a vacuum, and so does society. New forms of value and exchange will rush in to fill the space. One potential model is a resource-based economy, where all material and energy resources are declared a common heritage of the solar civilization. Access is not purchased but allocated based on need and the sustainable carrying capacity of the system. Think of it like the air we breathe today, abundant, monitored for quality, and freely available to all. No one buys air, yet it is our most vital resource. In a mature solar society, the same principle could apply to energy, basic nutrition, and living space. Yet humans will always seek to distinguish themselves, to gain status, and to trade in things that feel uniquely valuable. This is where more nuanced models may flourish. Imagine a gift economy, but one operating at a solar scale and turbocharged by technology. In such a system, reputation becomes the primary currency. You contribute what you are passionate about, a stunning piece of virtual art, a novel solution to a habitat's recycling efficiency, a deeply researched history of the early Martian settlements. Your contributions are validated by your peers, building a reputation score that grants you greater influence in community decisions, priority access to unique experiences like a tour of a newly activated swarm node, or the collaboration of esteemed artists and engineers on your personal projects. Your standing is not about what you own, but about what you give. Another emerging currency could be creative or experiential capital. In a world where material goods can be fabricated on demand, true scarcity shifts to the realms of originality and profound experience. The unique narrative of a master storyteller, the once-in-a-lifetime data from a probe diving into the atmosphere of Jupiter, the exclusive opportunity to participate in a century-long philosophical simulation, these become the coveted treasures. Economies might form around the curation and allocation of these non-material goods, managed by sophisticated algorithms that ensure fair distribution and encourage the continuous creation of new knowledge and beauty. The critical task for our current generation is not to predict which exact model will win, but to lay the philosophical and technological groundwork for a smooth transition. We must cultivate the cultural values that will support these systems, values like communal stewardship over individual hoarding, and the pursuit of meaning over the accumulation of possessions. We must also build the transparent, incorruptible digital ledgers and governance that can manage such complex allocation without bias or collapse. If we fail to do this work in advance, the sudden arrival of abundance could lead not to utopia, but to a profound societal dislocation, a crisis of purpose where old incentives are gone and new ones have not yet taken root. The greatest challenge of a Type 2 civilization, therefore, may not be engineering the swarm, but engineering the human heart to thrive in the light of a star that gives everything. A sprawling civilization is a vulnerable one. When your homes and industries are scattered across billions of kilometers, from the inner orbits of Mercury to the icy outposts beyond Neptune, the very concept of a border evaporates. Defense can no longer be a line on a map or a fleet anchored at a single world. It must become an all-encompassing, intelligent atmosphere of awareness. The threats themselves evolve beyond terrestrial conflicts. A rogue comet nudged from the distant Oort cloud could arrive with little warning on a trajectory for a populated habitat. A cloud of high-speed micrometeoroids, the debris of a long-ago asteroid collision, could shred a vital swarm component. And then there are the more speculative yet sobering possibilities, like an ancient, autonomous probe from another star, silently entering our system on an unknown mission. In this environment, traditional militaries become obsolete. You cannot station soldiers in the void. Instead, security becomes a function of information and energy. The first layer of defense is a vast, vigilant nervous system, a solar system-wide sensor network. Thousands of telescopes, radar arrays, and gravity wave detectors would be positioned at strategic points, their collective gaze creating a real-time map of every significant object moving within the Sun's gravitational embrace. This network would not just track known asteroids, it would constantly scan for anomalies, for new objects, for anything that moves against the predicted flow of celestial mechanics. It is a perpetual, automated census of our home. Detection, however, is only half the equation. The response must be swift and decisive, leveraging the very infrastructure that defines a Type 2 civilization. Individual elements of the Dyson swarm, normally dedicated to energy collection, could be rapidly repurposed. Their vast, delicate solar sails could be tilted to act as mirrors, focusing sunlight into a searing beam capable of vaporizing smaller threats or gently pushing larger ones onto a safer course over time. More robust platforms could mount dedicated directed energy weapons, lasers powered by the star itself, able to deliver pinpoint strikes across millions of miles. For the most substantial dangers, like a mountain-sized asteroid on a collision course, the solution might be kinetic. A swarm component, or a dedicated interceptor, could be accelerated to incredible speeds using electromagnetic railguns or plasma drives, becoming a relativistic bullet that shatters or deflects the threat through sheer impact. This transforms the swarm from a passive energy collector into an active, dynamic shield. It is the ultimate expression of multi-purpose design, where the tools of creation are also the tools of protection. But this seamless shift from power grid to planetary defense requires something far more challenging than technology. It requires unprecedented trust and coordination. A unified solar system security protocol would be the most complex treaty ever conceived. It would need to govern when and how defensive systems are activated, who has the authority to declare a system-wide threat, and how to ensure a single habitat or governing body cannot weaponize the swarm for its own purposes. Every colony, from Mars to the asteroid belt, must have absolute confidence that the system protects all equally and that its immense power will never be turned inward. Establishing this protocol is a monumental exercise in building a shared solar identity, where the safety of a research station orbiting Jupiter is as vital as the safety of Earth. It means creating transparent governance, shared command structures, and fail-safes woven into the very code of the defensive AI. The defense of a stellar civilization, therefore, is the final test of its unity. It proves that the scattered communities have truly become a single organism, capable of perceiving a threat to any one part as a threat to the whole, and responding with the calm, coordinated precision of an immune system protecting a body. In the silent expanse of space, vigilance is the price of permanence, and cooperation is the only shield strong enough to last. The ultimate act of love for our home may be to finally leave it alone. As our civilization stretches its limbs across the solar system, a profound transformation awaits the blue marble where it all began. Earth would no longer serve as the primary engine of our industry, the mine for our materials, or the dumping ground for our waste. That heavy burden would shift entirely to the asteroid belts and the automated factories in orbit. Freed from this immense pressure, our planet could begin a grand and deliberate healing. Imagine the process in reverse: the slow silencing of smokestacks, the gradual rewilding of lands once carved by mines and cities, the return of clear skies and thriving oceans as the global biosphere, assisted by our most advanced ecological sciences, rebounds to a state of vibrant pre-industrial health. Earth becomes a preserved garden, not by accident, but by the conscious, collective choice of a species that has grown up enough to give its cradle the care it always deserved. This vision reframes the entire purpose of expansion. We are not fleeing a ruined world in a desperate exodus. Instead, we are moving our industrial footprint into the cosmic workshop to protect the one irreplaceable masterpiece we already possess. With energy and materials abundant in space, there is simply no need to strip mine Earth any longer. The economic incentives that drive deforestation and pollution vanish. Our relationship with the planet shifts from one of extraction to one of stewardship and reverence. Earth transitions into a living museum, a sanctuary for the breathtaking biological diversity that gave rise to us, and the sole repository of our entire cultural and evolutionary history. Every forest, every coral reef, every mountain range becomes a protected exhibit in the greatest museum of all. it would naturally evolve into the cultural and spiritual heart of solar civilization. While millions may live in the spinning habitats of the swarm or the domed cities of Mars, Earth would be the universal pilgrimage site. It would be the place you visit to walk in real forests, to feel genuine rain on your skin, to swim in a natural ocean, and to see the unengineered sky from which our ancestors first dreamed of the stars. It becomes the center for arts, philosophy, and deep history, home to universities and retreats dedicated to understanding our origins. Tourism would be carefully managed, of course, with access limited to prevent overcrowding, ensuring the garden remains pristine for millennia. The overview effect, that profound sense of unity felt by astronauts seeing Earth from orbit, would become a common rite of passage, a reminder to every Solarian of where their story began. The legacy we leave on our first world, then, becomes the truest measure of our maturity. A civilization that can build rings around its sun, but also chooses to restore the green and blue world that birthed it, demonstrates a balance of power and wisdom. It proves that growth does not have to mean consumption, and that progress does not require the sacrifice of our past. Earth, shining like a flawless blue jewel amidst the grand metallic works of its children, would stand as our species' most beautiful and enduring creation, a quiet garden preserved forever in the light of the star we learn to call our own. A single life can feel impossibly small against the backdrop of a stellar megastructure, yet the true measure of a civilization is not the scale of its machines, but the meaning found by the individuals within it. In an age where artificial intelligences manage the symphony of a Dyson swarm and automated factories hum across the asteroid belt, the ancient human drive for purpose does not vanish, it simply changes direction. The daily struggle for survival, the engine that has defined human existence for millennia, finally falls silent. In its place arises a new and profound question: what do you do when you no longer need to do anything? The answer transforms every human life from a unit of labor into a vessel of potential. The canvas for achievement expands from a career or a community to the entire solar system. Purpose becomes a personal creation, not a societal imposition. For some, it will be the call of the untouched frontier. They will become cosmic gardeners, designing self-sustaining ecosystems for new orbital habitats or terraforming the high deserts of Mars, not out of necessity, but out of a love for the artistry of life itself. Others will be the deep space cartographers, piloting agile scouts into the turbulent atmosphere of Jupiter or leading decade-long surveys of the Kuiper Belt, driven by the simple, burning need to see what lies over the next horizon. Scientific curiosity becomes a lifelong passion, not a profession. Imagine a citizen researcher, supported by the civilization's vast data streams, spending 50 years studying the complex weather patterns of Venus, not for a degree or a patent, but for the sheer joy of unraveling a planetary mystery. Artistic expression explodes in forms we can barely conceive. Composers might craft symphonies meant to be experienced while floating in the zero-gravity theaters of a rotating habitat, where sound and spatial movement intertwine. Storytellers could build immersive historical simulations so detailed you could walk the streets of ancient Earth cities, or speculative sagas about civilizations orbiting other kinds of stars. The very concept of a hobby dissolves as every pursuit is granted the dignity of a life's work. The most complex frontiers, however, will be social and philosophical. In a society of abundance and longevity, how do we cultivate deep, lasting relationships that span centuries? How do we design governance systems that are both fair and flexible across a dispersed population? New roles will emerge, like conflict mediators skilled in navigating the subtle tensions between different orbital colonies, or ethicists who help communities draft charters for interacting with any nascent life we might discover on icy moons. The individual's role shifts from building the infrastructure of survival to building the culture of permanence. The challenge is deeply human-centric. It asks us to define significance for ourselves. Your legacy may not be a monument etched in metal, but a novel theory of consciousness debated for generations, a new form of music that defines an era on Mars, or the mentorship that guides a young explorer to make their own discovery. In a civilization of giants, the most important project remains the cultivation of the self, a lifelong journey of curiosity, creation, and connection that turns the vast, impersonal light of a star into countless unique and brilliant sparks of meaning. This grand map remains a collection of possibilities until we choose to walk its path. A journey of this magnitude cannot be undertaken by scattered groups working in isolation. It demands a shared destination that unites our species. We require a project so vast, so inspiring, that it becomes the central narrative of the coming centuries, a global undertaking that coordinates our brightest minds and redirects our competitive energies toward a common horizon. This is not about a single government or corporation leading the way, but about forging a new kind of human endeavor, one that transcends every border and aligns our collective will. Think of the Apollo program, but not as a race to a finish line. Imagine it as the first, tentative step into a process that becomes the defining work of our civilization. That program captured the world's imagination not because it was easy, but because it was a challenge that spoke to something deep within us, a declaration that we could reach beyond our limits. The project we need now is Apollo's ambitious descendant, a framework dedicated not to a single flag on a single moon, but to the systematic, patient building of our future in the solar system. It would be the coordinating engine for all the disparate pieces of our map. Its first function would be to synchronize the critical research paths that currently advance in separate laboratories and nations. It would create international alliances focused on the core technologies, the race to master practical fusion energy here on Earth, the development of safe and aligned artificial general intelligence, the perfection of advanced robotics for extreme environments, and the life science needed for long-term space habitation. By providing a shared goal and pooled resources, it accelerates progress in each field, as breakthroughs in robotics directly benefit asteroid mining prototypes, and advances in life support enable longer missions to Mars. This project becomes a positive, constructive answer to the existential risks we face. Instead of a future defined by fear of what might go wrong, it offers a vision of what we are building together. It channels our technological prowess away from potential conflict and toward a monumental act of creation. It transforms the conversation from one of scarcity and division to one of abundance and shared destiny. For the individual, it provides a sense of participating in a story larger than oneself. For a student today, it answers the question of why they should study engineering or biology, not for a vague job market, but to contribute to the greatest project in human history. For nations, it offers a new arena for peaceful prestige, measured not in military might, but in scientific contributions and engineering marvels. Initiating this global project is perhaps the most practical and immediate step we can take. It begins not with a rocket launch, but with a conversation. It requires diplomats, scientists, artists, and citizens to start drafting the charter for a multi-generational journey. We must design the institutions, the funding mechanisms, and the cultural frameworks that can outlive any single generation or political cycle. This is the act of planting a tree under whose shade we may never sit, but whose branches will one day hold the habitats of our descendants. By choosing to start, we make the first deliberate move from being passengers on a planet to becoming architects of a solar civilization. The map is drawn, the destination is clear, and the first, most crucial milestone awaits not in the stars, but in our collective decision to begin the journey together. This map is not a promise but a mirror. It reflects back to us the totality of what we could become, laying bare both our profound fragility and our limitless potential. The path from a divided planetary species to a unified solar civilization is the greatest story we could ever choose to tell, a narrative that weaves together the threads of survival, mastery, and meaning. Its challenges are immense, demanding we heal our world, transcend our ancient conflicts, and ultimately reimagine what it means to be human. Yet its rewards are the very stuff of legend, offering a permanence for our consciousness and a canvas for creativity as wide as a star system itself. The vast timescales can feel daunting, stretching across centuries we will not see, but this is not a reason for delay, it is the very reason for urgency. The foundational work, the essential first steps of global cooperation, sustainable energy, and a committed return to space, begins in this generation with the choices we make today. Every treaty signed, every clean energy grid connected, every rocket that lifts a new module to an orbital station is a brick laid on this road to the stars. We are not just planning a future, we are building its foundation. The map is drawn, a detailed blueprint of hope and warning. The destination is clear, a civilization matured enough to cradle its star. But a map is useless without a traveler. The most critical variable in this entire equation is not a technology or a resource, it is our collective will. Do we have the courage to look beyond the immediate horizon of our lives and invest in a future we will never inhabit? Can we find the wisdom to steward our power and the empathy to unite our species? The legacy we leave among the stars will be written not by some distant, evolved version of humanity, but by us right now, in the decisions we make about our energy, our politics, and our shared vision. The journey of 1,000 years begins with a single, conscious step. What will that first step be for you? Share your vision for the next crucial move in our comments below, and subscribe to join us as we continue exploring the frontier